Hi, Dave Smith with Police One TV. We're here at Trexpo this year, and I just got through watching a ground fighting class, and I want to talk to the instructor, Dave Young from North Central Technical College, about what I just saw and what's important for you to think about if you're going to look for some ground fighting training. You know, Dave, I'll tell you what, good to have you here today. This was very dynamic training. And I noticed you had a cross-section of law enforcement, including older officers who are not in great condition. And one of the things I hear from officers is, well, I'm just too old for that kind of training. I just, leave that for the youngsters. How important is it to get ground fighting training?
Well, there's no age restriction for survival. You know, I hear that too. I'm 53 with a bad knee compared to 25 with two good knees. We try to look at a protocol for establishing a system, such as you should be able to perform the techniques within 3 steps. You should be able to conduct it in complete duty gear. And it's something that should be accommodating to what you're doing standing up compared to what you're doing on the ground. And it really should be designed for the I don't like to call him the lowest drag officer, but physical fitness plays an important role, but more or less officer survival fitness is important. So you basically had him doing drills on the bags, 30-second drills, 60-second drills, 90-second drills. You know, Dave, the old question is, how do you prepare an officer to go up against an unknown opponent, unskilled, don't know their weight, don't know when it's happening, so you put them through bag drills, as you saw earlier.
Right, and the thing is that also gives them a self-evaluation of things they need to work on. Because you can see the different levels of fitness out there, and I think it probably makes them aware that whether they need to work on their strength or they need to work on their weight control.
Well, when you say being in shape, you think of the small waist, big shoulders, you know, be able to jump a building in a single bound. And majority is most of our officers are not in the best shape that they could be in.
That's right.
But nonetheless, there's basic fundamentals. We tell people when they're looking for a program, look for a program that makes you do the techniques in all your duty gear. Looks for something that lets you work at your own pace.
Right.
And you know, there's going to come a time when you're going to have to finish stronger than what you started, so you're going to have to put that little extra energy into it. And we tell officers, since they're working at their own pace, they put their own energy into it.
That's important. Now, as administrators, when you're thinking about, I want to get somebody to come in and train my people, what are the key liability things that you want to pay attention? Because it's one of the things as a manager. I had a whole different set of criteria of issues when I was the trainer versus when I was the training commander. Because now I had legal talking to me all the time and HR and all those things. So what are the things that you would tell the commanders out there?
Well, over the last several years, when we got grants approved by the state or federal grants, we had to fit 3 categories. We had to have a wellness category. Was it approved by doctors? Did doctors review the techniques? Is the terminology matching the medical ramifications?
Is it medically sound, right?
Is it tactically sound? You talk to officers. Is it field-proven techniques? Because let's face it, Dave, no matter how long we've been doing this, if it's in a PowerPoint in a video, it's still theory until you do it on the mat.
Right.
So you have to physically be able to do it. And the third thing is, besides a medical check and a tactical check, is a legal soundness. Have lawyers reviewed your curriculum? Is it courtroom defensible? Can you go into court and say the officer exhausted all means and he went to deadly force because he felt his life was in immediate danger or imminent danger? And how to articulate that? So the administrators need to look at the whole well-being of the program. Not just there's a lot of great trainers out there. And I have found that for doing this for a long time, a great trainer doesn't necessarily mean a great program. You really want to look at the whole program in its entirety. Then you have to take the officer's profile into consideration. Are we out of shape, under shape, in shape? Are we overweight, underweight? Do we sleep right? Do we eat right? The old joke is you start the first 5 years, you'll have that V. And then after 5 to 10 years, that V turns into a U. I know sometimes in the winter I'm a U, in the summer I'm a V.
Right.
And then, after 15 years, you can say you had a B. You couldn't tell you had a butt unless you were wearing a belt,
Right.
Those officers have to perform at the same level of proficiency as the officers that are in shape.
Right.
So being in fighting shape, fighting awareness, can be for any age and shape, male or female. We shouldn't categorize it to a special technique for this person because they might be slightly overweight or up in age.
Right. One of the things to take into account that you mentioned is I want to make sure that there is a very short learning curve in any technique. I've seen some classes and I was impressed with the instructor, but when I walked out of it, I thought, how would I ever? The moves were so complicated and so, I'm not going to be able to. I don't have time to go do katas or forms every day, and then I go to the instructor may not have been as great or dynamic an instructor, but the techniques were so solid and so basic. Again, 3 steps being the critical, or I think is the critical learning number, that you could walk out after a 4-hour session and feel comfortable that I had learned those steps. And one of the things I want to say is that if anybody tells you they're going to sell you a DVD and you're going to learn these techniques, it's important to go have hands-on instruction in this kind of stuff, because some of the liabilities, if you can have joint injuries very easily doing this training, and you were very careful, I know, in your class to make sure that the liability was reduced, even though you're teaching them to do, like for instance, when you're down and a guy's standing up, to get distance, you're going to kick at this person. Well, I want to have my people physically practice that specific skill, but at the same time, I don't want the guys getting kicked to get some kind of knee damage.
Well, I've always found that accidents that happen by accident or on purpose, they still hurt the same. So, you want them to wear the basic groin protectors and the mouthpieces and the eye goggles for eye injuries, and basically have them do it slow for form. Have them do the shadow drills, as they, Gary Klugowitz started that concept 10 years ago, the 7 steps for simulation. They got to be able to see it and hear before they can physically do it. So have them do shadow drills, have them do props and partner drills, and then before you have them hit anything, have them go through it a couple of times so they know exactly what's expected of them.
Right.
I mean, everyone has to find their own shelf life. How long do I have to live in a fight? And I think if most officers were aware of their shelf life, they would make better decisions during that shelf life time that they had.
Right, because that's part of your evaluation process, of whether you're in imminent danger or not, is simply your own capacity versus the capacity of your opponent, which is always going to be, like you said, murky. Bad guys don't come with fitness and weight charts attached.
Well, when you say that we're going to defend against chokes, you watch the UFC, you watch the World Cage Fighting. A choke can be a 100-pound person that weighs 100 pounds more than you sitting on top of you.
Exactly.
Suffocation, strangulation, gear moving in a different way, binding, not being able to breathe, haste and fatigue, all those things an officer should experience in training. I mean, let's face it, training is supposed to make it real, prepare them for the real environment, and that's what we try to do in our classes.
Right. Well, if those watching out there, whether you're the training commander, training officer, or an officer or deputy interested in getting this kind of training, where would we go for more information? How can I contact you?
Well, you can go to police1.com. There's a variety of trainers that are out there. Or you can come to our website, which is www.redmantraining.net. You sign up for the classes, and you should spend some time talking to the instructors. Like, I know if we get someone who comes to a class and they fail, we refund their money. Not a lot of places do that. If you find out that Monday on the first day of the class, this training's not for you, we'll refund your money. I mean, let's face it, survival is for everybody, but teaching it is for not everybody.
Right, that's right. Well, good advice. Dave Young, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.